Hello and welcome to Alchemy for the 21st Century, the Rebirth of Resistance. And I'm here to talk with you a little bit today about current events and how they relate to my past videos. If you've been reviewing my past videos for the last 8 months, you've been introduced to terms such as the Great Trap, the Great Rescue, the Great Deception, and the Great Choice. And being that humanity has had a busy 2 weeks, I think I can relate these to current events, and they are very clear. And the first one we're going to begin with is the Great Trap. And the Great Trap is a engineered systematic failure that produces an environment of fear, confusion, instability, and despair, and it brings in for the purpose of introducing a predetermined plan. And this predetermined plan is called the Great Rescue. And the Great Rescue brings in with it two choices, two characteristics, and one would be that it has consequences, and the second one, in a democracy, it must be asked for. So what we can see, we can relate this to the current events in Ireland. We see that very recently that the Irish decided to vote for more austerity. They voted to keep the austerity package in order to get the rescue or the bailout. And it had consequences, and the consequences are that they will lose much of their financial independence. The other one we can see is what's called the Great Trap. The Great Deception. And the Great Deception is when something appears, but it really isn't. It appears something what it's not. And what we can say here is we can see this in Serbia. We see that the Serbians are wanting to join the EU club. But we also know too is, why would you want to join the EU club when it's apparent that it's falling apart? And what that can only mean that maybe the EU club isn't falling apart and is going to morph into something else. And this is the Great Deception. You see it one way, in reality it's something different, and that's behind the scenes. And you're probably asking, why does all this happen, and how does this all play out? And this all plays out, if you've heard this before, is it is our belief in the failing paradigm that keeps us playing the rigged game. And we can also see this in the United States. How's that Facebook stock working out for you? Did you make a killing on that one? What made you play the rigged game again? And it's all about believing in the same old stuff. So this all has to do with paradigm failure. And paradigm failure happens when the paradigm cannot find the solutions to solve its problems, and then it must shift into something else. And this is evident. This has happened before in history, and it's evident on how we divide time. We divide time between BC transition AD, and that transition is all about paradigm shift. So we could say that maybe the circumstances are setting the stage for another division in time. And what we will have is BC transition AD transition, and after the Common Era. And the transition time is just what it is. It's a time of transition where things are fearful, uncertain, chaotic. And also another characteristic of the transition time is structural control. Structural control must be maintained in order to control the fear. And these are all things that we are seeing today and very evident in the current times. Now there's 2 ways to move a paradigm, and you can move a paradigm through something that's called structural change. And structural change is nothing more than structural, or the systems redefining themselves for the new role in the new age. And what that is relatively is a repackaging of the same paradigm so it appears new. And in structural change, the best mankind can do is negotiate a better deal. And this again is something that we're seeing today in the demonstrations and all the events throughout the world with the social unrest. But the problem here is none of these changes, none of these efforts are producing anything, and that's because the masses have been made to believe that they're irrelevant. And this has happened through shaping and technology. So in other words, mankind has lost its leverage in the negotiating deal. Another way that you can move the paradigm is through what's called evolutionary change or fundamental change. And this occurs when mankind is introduced to an alternative paradigm. It is from the alternative paradigm that we change our beliefs and believe in something else. Once we believe in something else, we begin to redefine self-worth, and we begin a new age of individualism, which enhances human activity and again brings around individual prosperity. And this is something that the alchemists would call spiritual evolution or evolution of thought. And this is something that we're probably seeing today, because we're seeing that mankind is beginning to evolve differently. They're beginning to think differently. And this is what alchemy for the 21st century is about. So the seeds of a new paradigm are always found in the common man. It is the common man, once he changes what he believes in, that produces the real change. So I hope you found my video interesting and will continue visiting my site, because we're in a very interesting time. And just another little thing to update you with is that the scandal in the Vatican, it appears to be nothing, but it is really something, because it has to do with the cosmic clocks. I hope you keep viewing my videos, and thank you very much.